Charles Glow, New York Times.
Also, thank you for inviting me. I think, you know, the quick kind of knee-jerk answer to that would be unemployment. The unemployment rate is extremely high for Black Hispanics. It's through the roof for young Black men. You can't even see that number from that. But the way I think I would broaden that is to say it's more about the issue of security. It's about economic security. It's about food instability and security in this country. There's so many people who are going hungry. Home security, the ability to find a home, to stay in your home, not be put out on the street. We had the issue of the security of citizenship with immigrants. Latinos promised that we deal with the issue of immigration. It hasn't been dealt with. At the same time, the Obama administration has deported a record number of undocumented workers in its first 2 years. That issue will be a major driving issue this time around because somebody has to deal with that issue, and they're not happy about what's happening to that. And none of us should be happy about what's happening with that. There's insecurity within our own communities and neighborhoods with incredibly aggressive policing policies. A lot of it focused around the drug war, the failed drug war. That has basically become a war against marijuana and it's being waged against Black and brown people. And a lot of that has to do with federal government. That is financed to a very large degree by federal burn grants. Those things are being phased out. Our president campaigned that he would, refinance them, and basically as part of the stimulus package. I think they increased that amount by 4 or 5 times. So now there's plenty of money, plenty of incentives to make people insecure in their own neighborhoods, in their own homes, with aggressive policing tactics. All this stuff comes down to who gets to feel secure within this society. The Republicans basically said, we want to make financial interests and rich people feel secure because those people, when they feel good, they spend money and that gives you a job. On the other side of the coin, they're saying that we do not care about the security of the weakest, the oldest, the poorest, the least capable of taking care of themselves and will balance the budget on their backs. We cannot forget. I mean, I know that in American society we have, the political memory of a fruit fly, but we cannot forget that just a couple of months ago we passed these massive, we extended the Bush tax cuts, which massively added to the problem. And now we come back and say, Democrats are bending over backwards and say, we will give and give and give. And they say, well, you're not giving enough because we want to cut more people who are vulnerable. And you have to go along with that. And at a certain point, people are pushed between a rock and a hard place. There's the devil you have and the devil you don't. And how that plays out in 2012, and who kind of is able to say, who gets to feel secure? The whole Tea Party movement is about insecurity. They don't feel secure. So they act out. Their reaction is to make poor people feel less secure. Who gets to feel secure in society? That becomes the 2012 message.
Reverend Sharpton, is going to be confidence and leadership. And I really want to commend you because I believe that we're at a defining moment and at a crossroad in the history of this country, in the history of our people. And in every defining moment, God has always raised up a leader who could impact the nation and our people. And I think that you have certainly kind of helped set that stage for the appropriate leadership. But everywhere, I think we have a confidence crisis in our country where individuals have lost confidence in leaders to execute on the issues that my colleagues have just mentioned. When you consider the notion that we have double-digit and triple-digit unemployment in major urban areas, individuals lack confidence in persons having the courage to step up and do the right things. And you know, everywhere I go, people are talking about issues around the water cooler, but we're not forcing those issues to the surface, and therefore having dialogue and debate at the media level to make sure that folks are not left behind who are in pain and therefore need to have things impacted. So I think the first key thing is going to be leadership and whether or not we can place confidence in folks, because folks run on one thing, but when they get in, they don't follow through on what they committed to. And I think that is a huge issue with respect to us making sure that we vet individuals, etc. Here's the next thing I think. I think that the next major thing is we have to force individuals to talk about the pain and the solutions that we must have in order to come out of the dilemma that we're in. We can no longer afford to have these issues in the closet that my colleagues have talked about. And I'll be very brief. And the third one is this. I think we would be remiss if we did not have our young people a part of this whole quote thing that is going on. I believe that our young people have lost confidence in the value of our educational system and the worth of our educational system because they don't see jobs or anything at the end of that. And I honestly do believe that if you look at the 60s and the 70s, there was a degree of anger, but it was positive anger. And there were young people who helped to create that. I was on the campus, Grambling State University, and there was positive anger with the hope that we could bring about change. Yeah. I don't see that level of anger that is exemplified on the part of a number of persons to say that we're going to change this, we're going to make this happen, we're going to stop procrastinating. One of Dr. King's greatest quote was the following: procrastination is still the greatest enemy of time. So this conference, from my perspective, is very timely, Doc, for us to execute on some of the issues that's going to surface during this conference. Thank
you. Roberto Ramirez.
Buenos días. I cannot tell anyone how to win the presidential election in 2012. I have some ideas, but I do want to point a couple of points that I think are key, and they have been spoken about already. I think in order to be able to get there with the greatest chances of success while lifting communities that are Black and Latino and minority, we need to address the issue of wealth disparity in this country. It's impossible to go anywhere and begin to deal with these issues unless we do that. If this country is prepared to put at the disposal of stopping the financial meltdown a total of $8.5 trillion, we should be able to put that kind of commitment. We know that they're not going to spend $8.5 trillion. It's a parameter for what we're prepared to do when American businesses and our economy is at stake. Shouldn't we be just as prepared to do that when it is the homes of Black and Latinos that are being foreclosed? So you do that. But at the same time, remember that giving the money back to the banks is not going to keep a Black or a Latino in their homes. Right. It is impossible that the only job creation for this country has to be an extension on unemployment insurance. That the Republicans refuse to even agree to unless. Second point, hunger. This is the wealthiest city in the country with the richest mayor in the world, with the largest Wall Street bonuses ever given. In this city, in 9 of the congressional districts, 20% of the people don't have enough money to feed themselves. As we think about the international crisis, it is important that we be as willing to go across the world to inject democracy, it is just as important that we go to the poorest congressional district in the world, in the United States, and feed a poor and hungry family. Last one, immigration. We cannot go into our re-election, Reverend Sharpton, with our record being that we are the nation and the president that has the greatest record of deportation of undocumented citizens. If the United States Senate is unwilling and incapable of passing something called the DREAM Act, let me tell you what it is. You got to be under 35 years of age. You got to be here at least when you were 16. You have to have lived at least for 5 years. You have to at least have got a college degree. Or you have to have gone and serviced in the United States forces. I thought the only thing that was left there is you have to be left-handed. So that you can qualify for the DREAM Act. But if this country is not prepared to take care of those children and not make them citizens, but give them a path, a permission, provided that they accept that they were criminals. If we are not prepared to do that, what kind of immigration reform do you think we're ever going to pass? So the issue of immigration reform for those who are not only Latinos. Let me give you the last thing. Immigration reform is not a Latino or black people's issue. Immigration reform is a moral issue for this country, and the time has come for us to act on it. And if we're going to energize that base, then we better show up. In 2012, having said, for the past 4 years, we have something to show. Thank you, sir.
Many of you remember a few years ago I did 90 days in jail for the protesting Yankees, and 45 days ago, Ramirez was with me, and you can see I taught him how to...